and welcome everybody. I have with me a very special guest on a conversation and on a topic rather that all of you I'm sure have been very interested in knowing about. A lot of you have been writing in as well to me about it. So I thought, why not bring on board the world's most influential speaker on productivity. So I have the pleasure of being joined by David Allen. He is, of course, often called as the personal productivity guru and has developed the famous work management system, Getting Things Done. David, thank you so much for joining us today on ET. Now, it's an absolute pleasure having you with us on the show. And, I think for the first time on Indian television as well. So many thanks for giving us your time, David.
My pleasure, Mubina. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. So, David, I think productivity, the word sounds so pleasing, so positive, and all of us would love to believe that, yes, I'm able to do make the most out of the 8, 9, 10 odd hours that I am functioning in a day. But many a times we sort of get lost in the other mundane things of life, or the other several distractions that have are constantly coming about around us. So let's start off first with your story, David. What got you so involved in improving productivity, in decreasing the amount of time you do in getting things done? What got you so involved and interested?
I'm the laziest guy you ever met. So I've always looked at what's the easiest way to get stuff done so I don't have to spend any more time than I need to. So not only that, given my experience with meditation, martial arts, etc., I got very attracted to clear space. How practical it was to have nothing on your mind other than what you're focused on, so you're not distracted by anything. So those combination of things sort of came together as I began my own consulting practice way before you were born, probably in 1981, 82. I began to develop a process called how do I work with myself so I can stay clear as my life got more complex and busier and faster, and get back to the clear space that I learned getting a black belt in karate. The clear space is if you're attacked by 4 people in an alley, you don't want 2,000 unprocessed emails somehow hanging on your psyche anywhere. So I said, okay, how do I stay clear as my life becomes more complex? And I began then cobbling together or putting together pieces of this methodology that later on became known as GTD. But that was a long time ago that I started to work with these processes. And Mubina, let me acknowledge and apologize right now. I've never had any formal traditional classes, training, education in time management, business, or psychology. All this was from personal experience on the street with real people, doing real work, busy all the time.
The one statement that you said, it actually inspires a lot of confidence. The fact is that you don't have any, formal education or degree around this whole process of, getting more productive, because it makes you feel that, okay, I really don't need to have any formal education. It's just a simple, habit that you have to sort of inculcate within you to get better. So, and this is something that I've noticed, that a lot of people confuse productivity with the fact that, listen, I'm just downright lazier. I'm not quicker on my feet than, other people. So that's the reason why perhaps I don't think I have the capability of doing more than I can, So what do you have to say to that?
Well, you started out by saying productivity sounded like a positive thing. Not true. For most people, productivity means harder work, more sweat. Oh my God, I'm already up to here. I don't need to be more productive, because people equate productivity with that, as opposed to productivity just simply means achieving whatever you're after. If you go on a vacation to relax and you don't relax, that's an unproductive vacation. If you go to a party to have fun and you don't have fun, that's an unproductive party. So productivity, again, has a lot of baggage with it. And so it's really about what really matters to you in terms of both lifestyle as well as any results that you really need to produce out here. I need to make this much money. I need to support this. I need to, create this. And so it actually, it works in both ways. I work a lot of the senior executives, CEOs that I've coached over the years. Their biggest issue is their personal life that they've let go to hell in a handbasket because they focus so primarily on their business work that they've let that whole side of their life just kind of fall apart. And that's actually distracting them from being able to focus appropriately on their business stuff. So I can't tell you how many hours I spent talking about my investments, my teenage son and getting into college and my parents and how do I support them. And, that's a lot of stuff that people have not then managed well. So the business of life is as much a business as any business that you're in. And so what I uncovered is the methodology that allows you to address both of those so that all of that stuff is clear. Here's a big secret, Mubina, I'm telling you, don't tell anybody else. Okay? Getting things done is not as much about getting things done as it is about being appropriately engaged with all of the commitments you have in life so that you're present with whatever you're doing. That's it. And I just uncovered how do you do that, but you're not born with those behaviors. You're not born knowing how to collect stuff or capture stuff out of your head that has your attention. You're not born, knowing how to make a decision about what that email means and what you're going to do about it, if anything. You're not born knowing how to sort of organize reminders of those things so that your brain is then freed up to do what it does best, which is strategic, creative thinking, right? But we're not born doing that. But those are easy things to learn how to do. So to your point, what I uncovered was something that you don't need a college degree. You don't need anything. You're already doing this. Anybody who's ever made a list or kept a calendar has already said, look, my head is not as good as this external thing, that can keep track of what I need to be reminded of. It's just most people are still using their head as their office for remembering and reminding, and it's just a crappy office. Sorry. It doesn't work. I discovered that 35 years ago, but the cognitive scientists in the last decade have proven as soon as you have more than 4 things you're trying to keep track of in your head, you're going to lose cognitive ability. You won't be able to remember stuff as well. You won't be able to think as well. You won't be able to be as strategic or creative about anything. They've proven that.
And I think most of us tend to spend more time making lists than actually sitting and getting things done on that list. I'm guilty of doing that, David.
Well, yeah, but come on. I don't know if you have a favorite cricket team or soccer team or football team. How much time do you think they spend getting ready for their work?
I mean, if it's a sports
How
team,
much of their week? How much of their week do they spend getting ready for the 1 hour of their real work? And then how much time do you spend getting ready for your 8 hours, 10 hours, 5 hours, or whatever of what do you consider your day in terms of what you need to do? So come on, if you spent 7 hours writing lists so that your last hour was hot, I go, that's worth it. So there's nothing wrong with getting ready to find out what your work is so that you can then be highly strategic about the work you pick to do.
When I'm at work, I'm thinking about, okay, what's my family doing at home? Or, what are the groceries that I had to pick up? Or what were the errands I had to run? And then while I'm doing my errands, I'm thinking about, oh, shoot, I forgot to, send so-and-so an email and I forgot to do this. So there's this constant, dichotomy in my mind. While I'm at work, I'm thinking about home. And, while I'm at home, I'm thinking about work. How do you recommend people solve that conundrum?
You need the kind of tool I have right there. No matter where I am, anything pops into my head I can't finish in the moment that I might want to decide or do something about, goes right there. That's the first step of the 5 steps of the getting things done process, which is capture. I need to make sure I've captured it, but in some place that I trust, and your head is not a place to trust. You could record it, you could write it on your farm, you could, whatever, as long as you get it out of there. And then sooner than later, do steps 2 and 3. I need to decide what I need to do about that, if anything. Where do I park a reminder if I can't finish that at the moment? And then step 4, reflect and review on what the contents of all that is. So that step 5, you engage in a way that's a trusted way to engage with your life or your work, as opposed to just driven by latest and loudest.
So David, just as I wrap it up, I would like to conduct a short rapid fire round, if you could call it that, with you, of around 5-6 questions. So,
sure.
David, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
See if my dog needs to go out.
All right. Okay. And what's the one thing you do right before you go to bed?
Look at my calendar for the next day or two to see how long I can sleep.
All right. The one thing you do during your day, which would sort of get you re-energized or, get your juices flowing again?
Relax. Listen internally to what some still small voice inside of me said, hey, David, here'd be the coolest thing to do right now.
All right. One life-changing productivity hack that David Allen swears by.
Capturing anything that pops into my mind when it does that is potentially meaningful and getting it out of my head and in front of me. And then, walking through my own process to decide where it goes and what I need to do about it, if anything. That's how I've created my life.
Okay. The one thing that distracts even David Allen from getting things done. You're having a tough one thinking about it. That means I think there are very few things that distract David Allen, isn't it?
I've done this for 35 years.
Yeah.
Anything that might distract me, I deal with. Whether it's a thought, something needs to handle, but right now, or whatever I need to do so I can relax and focus on what it is that I think I want to be doing right now. So I'm distracted all the time, as you are too, by potential things. That's not a distraction. Those are opportunities. So, wow, that's a cool thing to think about. What do I do about that? I don't know. So, not only in my pocket, but on my desk, I have these key high-tech tools. It's called pen and paper. No batteries, no Wi-Fi required, and the lightning can strike at any time.
David, what are your top 5 tips, recommendations for our viewers to make their day more productive as we step into a new year? What do you recommend they, sort of capture as a New Year resolution?
I have 3.
Okay.
Capture, decide next action, and weekly reviews. Once a week, step back and look at your whole game. And in terms of the new year, Mubina, one of the things my wife and I do at the end of the year, we'll do it in a few days, is we sit back and we say, what happened this year? And to get closure on the last year, I suggest people make no New Year's resolution. Those suck. They just create guilt and frustration. They show up out of some inspiration, but then you feel bad because you didn't do them. The best thing to do is clean up. I suggest most people clean up for the new year. Take the new year time to look at what do you need to get rid of? What do you need to what's out of date now? And get yourself current and complete in the sense of the things that you've created. So Catherine and I make a list of all the things we did that were new, things we accomplished, things, it could be everything from, gee, we bought a puppy, or, we got this brand new client. We just make a list of all that. Only takes about 20 or 30 minutes. That's great. We keep track of that, by the way. I keep it in a database. And then we say, okay, by the end of next year, what would we like to have true? What would we like to have on that list? And we just spend about 20 or 30 minutes saying, oh, it'd be great if that happened, or if we got that closed, or we got that clarified, or we got that set up, or whatever. We make a list of those. We barely even look at any of that once we've done it. But those 2 just exercises, acknowledge completion. And give yourselves a break, folks. Come on, guys. You've done a whole lot more than you probably have acknowledged about how good you've been. And that's really a good thing to do. And it gets a very subtle level of closure on a lot of that. Even those things were finished, if you haven't acknowledged it was finished and it was good and I learned or whatever, there's still an incompletion little spin inside of a subtle level inside of yourself. So those 2 things, get completion, clean up, close up,